All right. You ready? Here.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Black Nutrition for Your Soul. I'm Joshua Burke. I have a special guest with me, Mr. Shadez Mitchell. He is the CEO of Legacy for Yours. One quick second. If you're watching on YouTube, just go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for me. And if you're watching on Apple, Spotify, or any of the platforms, just go ahead and share the video for me. But like I said, I have a special guest, a very important topic that I usually talk about on the show. I talked about, self-care, self-love is the best love, a family matter, and all that goes into what we're going to be talking about today. I do apologize. There may be a little delay in between me speaking and him getting the question, but we'll try to work that out in the editing portion. So before we begin, Mr. Shadez Mitchell, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, your story, how you got into being an advocate for mental health, alcoholism, and substance abuse.
Okay, well, my name is Shadez Mitchell. As Joshua mentioned, my company, Legacy for Yours, LLC, is catered toward mental health, substance abuse, depression, those who suffer from all of these ills that's going on and that's plagued, the world since the pandemic. The company Legacy for Yours stands for leaving a legacy for your child as well as your family, because unfortunately, as us Blacks and brown individuals, we never leave or have anything to leave for our child. So
Right.
the company plans on advocating for mental health, but utilizing fashion, film, and social content, to spread the word. I have 20 years of experience, working with adolescents as well as families, dealing with all types of these ills, substance abuse, mental health, as well as individuals, who are in the foster care system or just suffering, from many different things, across the world.
How did you start though? Like get into this?
Well, I got into it because it's a long story. I'll try to truncate it where I started, as a counselor, counseling, for adolescents throughout the tri-state. A lot of our juveniles, who are currently incarcerated, those are the individuals, who I initially, started with. And it started branching off to counseling them, but also, counseling their families, collaborating, with precincts and also other facilities and trying to work to advocate and help, with the transition, from adolescents, going into the community after they're released. And then, with my different positions within the city government, I started working, with families, who deal with a lot of these issues and who have youth who are currently, incarcerated or who are in a close home facility.
So this is based in New York City?
Yes.
Only is it anywhere else? Are you in any other cities or?
Well, currently, no, I'm not in any other city, but the company, I plan on having it based, worldwide, because this is a worldwide pandemic.
It is.
And it's been so many people since I started the company last month, so many people all around the world who's been reaching out, especially, through Clubhouse. I've been reaching out, or I've had individuals from United Kingdom, London, as well as Jamaica, who just DM'd me, to express certain ills that, they had. 2 days ago, I had an individual from Jamaica who just DM me and saying that, she heard, me talk about my company, on Clubhouse, and she was feeling like giving up. She was saying that, she's been experiencing a lot of anxiety. Her mother didn't understand, what she was going through, and she just felt like giving up. I directed her, to my site, and I told her, please seek help. I said, your life is worth, living,
Mhm.
and anything that, you may be going through, trust me, there's other people in life, who are going through it, and your worth is worth, living for. And trust me, you'll be doing more harm, than good, by giving up. Please seek help. And if you want, I'll be here, to talk to you if you're unable, to reach out to one of the sites, on my page. And, she thanked me. And then the next day, I see that, she posted an Instagram post, with her rhyming. So I was happy that, I was able, to get in contact with her. And as I always mention, sometimes, especially in mental health, we as people, we need to reach out to those who we think that are okay. A lot
Yeah.
of times, those are the individuals, who may be suffering some form of depression. Just because they look okay from the outside, you have no idea what people are dealing with.
That's true. I will say this. So I met Mr. Shadez Mitchell through Clubhouse. He was speaking, and because we do talk a lot about this on our show, I wanted to get him on as soon as possible. So it was like the next day we confirmed it. And that's amazing because on Clubhouse, and I talk about Clubhouse on the show, that people that they inspire you. You never know what someone is going through, just by looking at their picture. They could be going through something, you don't even know it. You know what I mean? That profile picture is just a picture. Once they start talking, then you get the real story. And that's fascinating that someone did that through Clubhouse and got in touch with you, and you were able to help them. And that makes me happy, especially within our community. So during this pandemic, I'm sure you got a lot of calls or emails or, questions. How do you survive mentally through this pandemic? And so even though quarantine is done, we're not stuck in the house, we're still dealing with the mental side of getting the vaccine, especially in our community, the fear of it. Also, the wear and tear of the daily anxiety of, am I going to catch the virus? If I don't get the vaccine, should I rush and get it? But where are they prioritizing the vaccine? So during this whole 9 months, until now, how has it been dealing with, these issues during the pandemic?
Well, it's been very troubling. It's been very troubling because it's hit me indirectly, but very close in proximity, from family, friends, as well as coworkers, who has lost family members. I've had coworkers, lose mothers, lose fathers. I lost two coworkers, during this.
Yeah.
My best friend, lost his father, so it's been a lot of trauma that, especially, as Black men, we try to hold, but I've been speaking to a lot of, my friends, and I said, it's okay, to talk about it. You have to have that unfortunately that tough talk to let, individuals know there will be no shaming or no blaming. It's okay, to talk about some of the things that you're feeling, and how sometimes, you may just want to feel like, what, you can't take it.
Yeah.
So it's been hard, but mentally I've been able to deal with it and just try to be there, be that crutch, for other people.
What is the fear of talking? Why do you think we're so scared, especially in our community, to talk about mental health, or if we're going through it, to even acknowledge it? It's usually a defense mechanism. If someone says you need to go talk to someone, and I'm like, well, why do I need to go talk to someone? You go talk to someone. Why is that?
No, you're right. Unfortunately, I think it's passed down, from generation. If you go back to our ancestors, unfortunately, the man always had to be, the breadwinner, always had to be the one, the strong one, to keep up the family. You know, men really didn't talk about, their problems or their issues. They always said, that's another race, type of problems. We never sat down, with therapists, to talk about anything that was going on, whether it was racism, not, receiving a job, or any problems that, the family or we may have been dealing with. So I think it transcends, from the past. And unfortunately, it's only as of recent that you see men are saying, you know what, I need help. And when you go to the media, once you've seen Jay-Z talk about, you know what, I sat down with a therapist, to talk about, everything, from my wife to what I'm going through, it's therapeutic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you even talk about the Wades, like Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union. They talk about
Yes,
it and dealing with
yes,
their the daughter. So it's amazing to see them talk about it. Now you talk about Jay-Z and Dwayne Wade, men of men that can
yes.
actually,
Who everybody looks up to.
yeah, yeah. So I do like your mission. It says leaving a legacy for your children and families by providing a bridge to advocate and help those who suffer from mental health, substance abuse, depression, suicide, and financial literacy. Now, how does financial literacy go hand in hand with mental health or depression or anything, and all that?
Well, a quick snippet, I'll say, especially during this time, as you know, Josh, COVID-19 has separated so many individuals, from different reasons.
Yeah.
One of them has been most people who have cabin fever and not used to being with their spouse this long. So during this
Who are you telling me?
during this pandemic, you've seen an increase in substance use, alcoholism, as well as unfortunate. What's the right terminology I want to use? What's the right terminology? Spousal abuse. Has been reported, and unfortunately, it's been due to a lot of individuals losing their business, and unfortunately, when you go from a two-family household, income household, to a one family to a no family, arguments start, depression starts. So unfortunately, it goes hand in hand. And and in order to leave a legacy, for your child or your family, you have to empower financial literacy. You have a lot of individuals who don't know how to save, who
Yeah.
don't know how to establish, good credit. And those problems only escalate anything else that you may be dealing with.
Okay. Okay. So that makes sense because maybe I was going through financial literacy. I mean, I had a hard time doing because, like I said, we went from a 2-income household to a 1-income household. I was
Right.
furloughed from last March, and I didn't get another full-time job in my field probably until a month ago. Really, really.
Wow.
So I was employed all that time. So I felt the effect of, you know, being, stuck in the house with my spouse, but also not when you don't talk, you know, that kind of, and then you're stuck in the house and then you're forced to talk about these things. So I did feel the effect about that because we lost a lot during the pandemic. I want to talk about mental health, and the definition that mental health, it says, is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. It says the overview of mental illness, also called mental health disorder, refers to a wide range of mental health conditions, disorders that affect your mood, thinking, and behavior. Examples of mental illness include depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, eating disorder, addictive behaviors. It goes on to say that many people have mental health concerns from time to time, but a mental health concern becomes a mental illness when ongoing signs and symptoms cause frequent stress, and affect your ability to function. So it says a mental health can go to a mental illness. Have you actually seen where you've dealt with someone or talked to them and you saw that they went from a stable mind to an unstable mind within a period of time?
Yes, unfortunately, during this pandemic, it's become more prevalent where one of my friends whose uncle who was in the military and he was so used to, going out every day, just to clear his mind. And, with the cabin fever and being in the house, I seen how mental health became or transcend into a mental illness where it just became overwhelmed, to him where we really had to seek and get him help, therapeutic help as well as
But
him
what do you
being.
do if nobody wants to get help? Like, how do you talk them? Like, if you can't force them to go talk to someone, what do you do?
That's a
I'm,
hard question,
I
Josh. Because to be honest with you, as a man or a woman, it's only so much you can do. You can advocate, you can talk to them, you can give them or point them in the right direction, give them literature, give them directions on, different clinics or hospitals that they could go to. But unfortunately, it's really up to them.
so when does advocating stop? Then when do you say, okay, I've done enough? That's it. When do you does it never stop? Do you continue until or
Well, me personally, and the individuals who I surround myself with, it never stops because we have a passion for this. But yeah, it's all up to the individual. You have a lot of individuals, who feel like, okay, well, you know what? I told my brother, I told my uncle 7 times to go to this place to get help. They refuse to. They just want to walk around or they want to stay homeless. So you know what? I lift my hands.
that's
Now
true.
me personally, if it's a family and friend, I'm never going to give up because you want to show that love, that love, that genuine love that says, you know what, I'm never going to give up, even when you give up on yourself.
That's true. So steeped in stigma, it says that the stigma of mental health isn't new to the Black community. I want to dive into a little bit about our community and how
You
it's
sure you want to do that?
I do want to do that. It's very important because I
Ooh.
believe that I always say PTSD is something that we don't talk about, especially as men. And it goes back to slavery, how that
Oh, you're
affected
trying
us.
to go deep on this one. Okay.
I mean, I've always
Okay.
I've always said that like we have to find Black people, we have to acknowledge where it begins. And once we start
Yes.
acknowledging it, we can start handling. But it goes from slavery to your parents don't know how to handle their own actions. So I always say when your child is getting a whooping, that's just your parent not knowing how to, it all goes back, to slavery. So, okay. So it says steep in stigma, the stigma of mental health isn't new to the Black community. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. reportedly had a severe depression during periods of his life and refused psychiatric help. Even when urged to seek care by his staff, unfortunately, the scenario continues to be common in today's time, with African Americans not seeking mental health care because of the stigma. It says things can change. Now, I got this from the National Alliance of Mental Health. This was on this site, and it said things can change. African Americans develop mental health conditions at a rate equal to anyone else. They also experience trauma as a result of living with a society of systemic racism.
That's true.
According to Mental Health America, Black people experience direct traumatic stressors, including being heavily policed or being a victim of physical and verbal attacks. Indirect stressors as well, such as seeing a killing of another Black man, George Floyd, i.e., and transmitted stressors from traumatic stress passed on from generations to generations. So I'll just say that again. You have direct trauma stressors, including being heavily policed or being victim of physical or verbal attacks. Indirect stressors, such as seeing a Black man, i.e. George Floyd, killed on camera, and transmitted from traumatic stress passed on from generations to generations. Despite these challenges, however, Black people are far less likely to seek care. Statistics tell us about 25% of African Americans seek mental health care compared to 40% of white Americans. So, how do we seek culturally competent care? That's the question. Finding someone who is competent to not judge us, not look at us for our past, or when we say we need help, we need help. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
we don't want someone to judge us or to take advantage of that help. So these indirect stressors I want to talk about, such as seeing, someone killed like George Floyd. How do you take that, and as far as our community and us seeing a Black man killed on camera, how are we supposed to acknowledge that is a stressor, that's a pressure point for us, that's a trigger, and when we do acknowledge it, what are we supposed to do? Because we're seeing someone killed live, and we're supposed to say, okay, this is part of my mental health. This is, how do we handle? Those are two different things to me. So how do we handle that?
Well, I'll say that question is twofold, because yes, you're right. Going back to slavery, we have undergo so much abuse, and a lot of people think that, oh, that was 400 years ago, but no, but people don't realize that um, there's monetary slavery now, where it's just different, where no, they're not taking you out and whipping you, but there's the glass ceiling where they're not allowing you to get promoted, or get to that higher level of upper management. There's also the inner city crime where you see your own getting shot right in front of you. Case in point, Chicago. So unfortunately, most Black men has seen death way before George Floyd, and they just succumb to just dealing with it, in which they should have gotten some type of help, or been able to vent about it to their parents or other people in the hood. But it just goes, you know like it's another day. You go to the funeral, you put a face on a t-shirt, or some candles, and talk about the individuals for a few days, and next thing you know, you go along like it's just another day.
Are Black men more in need of
Yes.
Yeah.
Already know. Yes, I could, before you even finish. Yes, because Black men, oh my God, Black men has had a weight on its shoulders and on its back for all so long, and unfortunately, you see it now more than ever, because everything is being filmed. Social media is so vivid, where what, it's showing everything in live time that is happening. The media tried to condemn Colin Kaepernick, for just talking his truth.
Yeah.
He was saying, I want to protest and silence just by taking a knee, because when you listen to the national anthem and it says, for justice for all, he says, I don't see it when I'm seeing, little brown and Black, individuals being murdered and nothing is being, done. And it's unfortunate that, he had to give up his career like Muhammad Ali, just so individuals could see, what he was saying was actually true.
Yeah. Yeah, now they're changing the laws and stuff in the league. So yeah, you're right, and I think that's part of it. When we have to give up our daily lives
Yes.
just to make a point. And hopefully he gets a job somewhere, in the league.
I'm hoping, but unfortunately, we need those sacrificial lambs like Muhammad Ali and Colin Kaepernick, to push the envelope for people to see, what, he gave up this so he could shed light on a problem that's been far too long, to being should have been taken care of.
What about, okay, so what about at a young, what's the age you think you should start talking to your child, or you should start looking for the signs, I guess, if your child has symptoms of a mental illness or mental health?
See, that's a hard question. And I can't even really answer that. I would say it'll be on the parent, or the guardian or someone close to you. Personally, I would say at 6, because at 5 and 6, a child will really tell you and be able to comprehend what's going on.
Yeah.
But I would say just look for signs. You don't really want to.
Well, what are the signs that we look for that you look for? Like what are the signs?
Well, I would say, as you know, kids can be mean. So with bullying, that I've seen bullying cause so much trauma in little kids as well as adolescents that you start to see the signs, of mental health, where they don't want to go to school. They're thinking about taking weapons, to school, or they come home and they just have an attitude.
That ain't us.
Just want, just want to close their room door. And I've seen from all races where bullying has really done a number on our children. Mental health wise, and even suicide wise, where due to social media and bullying, kids feel like they just can't take it.
Yep. Killing themselves because of online bullying.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's true. So they do say that there are 7 aspects to focus on to help you stay mentally well. That's nutrition, sleep well, stress relief, so whatever that may be, a connection, whatever that may be, physical activity, be kind, spirituality.
Yes.
And sex. So I guess sex helps.
Well, yeah, even Oprah, talked about it, when she had the show on Channel 7, where, sex is not just, sex can be a relief from so many things.
That's what it says.
From so many things, because, you're releasing energy, and as you know, energy can conform in so many different aspects, where you can have negative energy, positive energy, energy, from your job, that you brought home, and once you release, all that energy into another individual or just out of your system, you can feel better.
There you go. You heard it. So before we end, what do you want people to know, one, about Legacy for Yours, but also the seriousness of mental illness?
Well, I'll start with the seriousness of mental illness. I would say, if you have or you believe, you have mental health problems, it can easily be talked about, with others. It can be scary, and some individuals, may not want to talk about it. But I would say, let's start the narrative, to talk about it, and let's stop shaming, individuals who may want to talk about a problem they're having. I would say, what, it's time for us as Black, Hispanics, and all races to say, we need help. We need to talk. We need this therapeutic, interaction to talk about our stresses, whether it's, saying from our job, our day-to-day interaction, in public, wearing masks, because, a lot of individuals are not used to wearing masks, and it's become mandate, in certain places, whether you're going to a restaurant or you're going shopping, where this is the new norm. And if you're not used to it, or it's too much for you, you may need to, just vent and, seek some type of help, to talk about it. A lot of times when you flush these issues out, you see that, you feel better in the end.
That's true. That's true, especially when you talk about it. So, legacy for yours.
Now, Legacy for Yours, I just want everyone to know Legacy for Yours, LLC. Um, it's a new company, but it's a company and a brand that I'm focused on, and I'm trying to link and want to be an advocate for mental health, substance abuse, depression, as well as help individuals with financial literacy. I want to help people be able to leave a legacy for their children and family. I want to network with St. Jude's, Ronald McDonald's House, Veterans Associations, a lot of these different corporations, who want to help, children as well as individuals, who may be suffering from any of these ills. Um, in the urban community as well as all around the world, we're seeing so many people either with mental health, substance use, or just suffering, from not having a job and being homeless. So I would say, if I can be an aid or any of assistance and trying to diminish some of these things, let Legacy for Yours, be that crutch.
Where can they find you?
Well, you can find us on www.legacyforyours.org. You can find me on Clubhouse as I met Joshua on. You can find us on Instagram at Legacy for Yours. You can find us on Facebook at Legacy for Yours LLC. And hopefully you'll be able to find us on your local tube or network, very soon, because we're working hard and we're networking with so many individuals. So please stay tuned. And thank you, Joshua, for having me in my company.
Well, thank you. And I want to say that I do want to help whatever I can do to be a part of, because I am an advocate for mental health. I talk about it a lot on the show, especially within our community. I'm unapologetically Black, so everything is about us. So whatever I can do, I want to stay in touch with you. You are in New York City, so maybe we can do another show or whatever, or we can meet. But I do want to be a part of Legacy for Yours in any way to help out what's going on.
Well, we're bonded now, my brother. You know what?
I know.
Going to help each other. We're going to help each other, build and spread the word, regarding, your podcast, which will be helping, other individuals and other businesses, shed a light on what's going on. And, I think that's what we have to do, especially as Black people. Our dollar is so important and people are just starting to recognize it. So once we come together and we get past, the jealousy and realize, what our dollar and just our position is so powerful, we'll be, the biggest threat.
That's true. Well, again, I want to thank you, Shadez. Legacy for Yours, everyone, LLC. You can find them on Instagram, Clubhouse. That's where I'm at. You can find them Facebook, Legacy for Yours, legacyforyours.org. Mr. Shadez Mitchell, everyone, thanks again for listening to Black Nutrition for Your Soul. And always remember to be unapologetically Black. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.